listening to Sweep the League.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
Well, after a long 3-day weekend, Sweep the League is back on a Tuesday night delight edition of Sweep the League. Welcome, everybody. Proud to say that we are over the 1,100 mark, 1,150 subs on YouTube. Appreciate everybody being a subscriber. Our weekly giveaways are going to start this week, so be sure to be a sub on our YouTube page. Just go to Sweep the League or go to YouTube, search Sweep the League TV, and be a subscriber. What do we got tonight? Well, we're going to get it out of the way early because Coach Gio is off tonight. There's no doubt about that. Talking to the coach, he said, you have a great guest coming on tonight, but he's never lived in San Antonio, so it's hard for him to talk about, San Antonio hoop players from back in the day who we're planning to have. We're planning to have Donte Mathis tonight from East Central High School, the famed 95 East Central team. They went 35-0 on their way to a state championship. Regarded as probably one of the best teams ever, I would say, in high school sports. They averaged over, I think it was 107 points per game. Just a very dominant performance from Donte Mathis along with Stanley Bonowitz Jr. So we're going to have him on here in just a little bit. We're also going to talk to Derek Irvin. He's going to be with us right now. Let's bring him on right now. Let's bring on the Hall of Famer. I'm going to be surrounded by Hall of Famers because not only is Derek in the UTSA Hall of Fame, we're also going to have Donte Mathis is in the Hall of Honors for Texas State. So I'm the only one without recognition. So I'm going to have an awesome time tonight. Let's bring him on here, the Hall of Famer himself, Derek Irvin, UTSA Hall of Famer. Derek, you all right, man? How was your weekend, man?
Weekend was good, man. Hey, I can't complain. It was a sports weekend, a lot of football, a lot of basketball. So the NBA is back, as you know. We got the World Series going on. Let's go Dodgers. I won't be biased. I'll take that back. But, yeah, let's go Dodgers. It's been exciting, man. So it's been a great weekend. So I'm doing fine.
Good, man. I wanted to mention something. The weekend was good. It was a good weekend. We got UTSA football coming up. I know they're struggling after this past weekend, too. A lot of stuff going on with UTSA. So we're going to talk to hopefully we'll get to talk to Coach Traylor. Hopefully this weekend we head over to the game over at the Alamo Dome. But some news that came across because I saw you post and I also saw a couple of other people post it. Yes. There was another passing former NBA player, Gerard Mustafa, passed away this past weekend on his 55th birthday. Derek, I know he was a friend of yours, man.
Yeah, and I want to send my condolences out to his wife and his kids, man. I mean, a great guy. I had become close with him in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And he actually had me on his show. He had, a man and a young lady called me and they interviewed me for about an hour. And it all happened because of Gerard. So I got to know him over the last 2 years. We became really close. And it was sad, man. I had actually had some contact with him the past weekend. And you could see a picture of him on Friday. And then on Sunday, he was spending time with his family. And It's amazing because no one knew about him being ill or anything, Rudy. And he had posted a picture Sunday. And he was with a couple family members, and he was saying about how precious life is and to enjoy life. And he had started making plans for what he was going to be doing on Monday. And what happens? He passes away on Monday on his 55th birthday. So, I was heartbroken, man. I shed a few tears, and it was a sad day. But I know he's going to be smiling down on us. And he's not going to be forgotten by me. He's not going to be forgotten by people in New York and Phoenix. And he played in the NBA for quite a while, and he was a good guy. So I want to send my condolences out. And Gerard, I'll miss you, my man.
Yeah, definitely. First round pick, 17th overall pick in 1990. So out of DeMatha High School, played for Maryland from 88 to 90. So, yeah, very sad news coming out of the league. Gerard Mustafa passed away at
Rudy, he congratulated me on my Hall of Fame induction on the 18th. He reached out to me then, and so to be gone 10 days later, man. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. I never followed a lot of Gerard's career. I had heard of him, definitely. I know a lot of the players in the league. I had heard of him. I never really followed his career, but just seen a lot of people on Twitter as well as Facebook, a lot of former players sending their condolences. We're doing the exact same here for Sweep the League. Our condolences to Gerard and staff, from Sweep the League. So just it's just crazy, man. The time is like so precious. You almost have to, live life to the fullest every single day, man.
Man, I called my sisters like right after. They were coming from Detroit. So I called them and they were in the airport when I called, and I wanted to tell them I love them. It just kind of wakes you up, man. You make you realize that a lot of times we put off things until next week or the week after and all that. And when you're dealing with family and loved ones, tomorrow is not guaranteed. And this was proof of it. So we got to put a lot of stuff aside. When you got little bitter things going on within your family, little petty stuff, I'll say, man, put all that stuff aside and try to move forward and try to have the best life you can. And of course, to do that, that takes your family and your friends, your close friends.
Yeah, I can definitely, I'll definitely attest to that because I've got stuff, there's types of times in my family where I have tough times letting stuff go for certain reasons. But you're right. At the end of the day, it's the one time you want to say sorry to people or reach out to them. It's almost like it's too late sometimes. It's weird how time works and how life works, man. It just kind of comes at you at a flash and you blink and then it's already gone, man. That's a tough part of life right there.
A lot of times something like that stuff, Rudy. If you think back sometime, your arguments within your family, you don't even remember what they're about. And so, nothing's better. Nothing's bigger than your family. At the end of the day, your family and your circle, your close friends, that's really all you have at the end of the day. Those are the people that are going to be honest with you, are going to support you through thick and thin. And what better people would you rather have around you than those that are going to be in your corner and are going to be honest with you?
Yeah, exactly. I take that to heart, man. I've got some, I'm 45 and I still have some growing up to do. So there's no doubt about that. But we are sending out our condolences to Gerard Mustafa, gone at the age of 55. So, not to turn the page over, but sticking kind of with the NBA. Also, we're going to talk NFL probably the next day or two. So for those of y'all that want NFL, it's kind of weird, Derek. We got a comment that one guy loves the show. He loves the show. He just said, I'm not a big basketball guy, so I have to turn it off when y'all talk basketball. But every time y'all talk NFL, or football in general, I'm there for it. So this is pretty much going to be an all basketball show. So for those that are understanding, he told me you gotta label it. You gotta put something out there. I'm like, well, it's hard to talk because I can put we're going to talk NBA and then we'd have talking NFL the entire hour. So it's kind of
hopefully we can convert him because I love sports. And I didn't play football. I played basketball for a living, but we talk about a lot of football, and I love it. It teaches you to be versatile, to come outside your comfort zone, man. And what better than learning more than one sport?
Yeah, exactly. It's always good to open up, the sports vault and just kind of, learn everything and get to know everything. I mean, baseball is such a long season. I really don't get into it. I get into it at the beginning of the season. And then playoff baseball is when I look at it.
I watch cornhole, man. I watch pickleball. So I'm just I'm a sports junkie. I'm not just a one sport junkie. I'm a tennis guy. I'm a boxing guy. I love sports in general. So I try to watch them all. I watch volleyball.
You watch golf?
I watch golf. I sure do.
Man, I try to watch golf on weekends, and it's like I get into it, but then I lose interest. I don't know why. I just lose interest.
I love it. One of my favorite players, Dustin Johnson, is on the Live Tour now, and he's the son-in-law of Wayne Gretzky. So,
that's right.
Yeah, and then you got my man used to play tennis. Can't think of Peter Korda, and his daughter is number one in golf right now in the women's game in the world. So yeah, I like sports, man. I love sports.
there's gotta be a sport you can't sit down. I'm trying to figure out. Can you watch bowling? We're gonna have a bowler.
I watch bowling. I told you about Earl Anthony and Dick Weber and Pete Weber and all those. Yeah, Marshall Holman. Yeah, I love sports, man. I'm telling you, I'm a sports junkie.
There you go, man. There you go. I mean, I actually am working on a PBA bowler, professional bowler, coming on the show with us here. So you got to get your bowling questions right. And this guy doesn't know me, so you can't ask him how good of a bowler I am. I can try to lie to him and all that, but I know he'll catch me on all that kind of stuff. But we're going to be welcoming Donte Mathis here in just a little bit. I just got a text message. Practice went a little bit over for Texas State, but talking to Donte is going to be kind of fun because in the 90s, around that time, Derek, as you know, you were here around that time. The family was here, but it was almost like one of the golden ages of San Antonio basketball. You had Bonowitz and Mathis. You had Devin Brown playing around that time. Yeah. You had the Fox Tech team, which was Robert Bell, who I think was around a sophomore when East Central went on that big run. So it's just a lot of basketball.
You mentioned Robert. I told him I couldn't think of who it was. I saw Robert 2 weeks ago at Gervin. And so I walked up to him and I said, when I tell you I just talked about you yesterday, I'm not a guy that exaggerates. When I say yesterday, I mean yesterday. And so I got to talk to him a little bit, and I talked about his Fox Tech days. I called him a star, and he was like, star? I like, yeah, come on, man. You know what you were in the city of San Antonio. So it's amazing. You talked about him, and then I run into him within the same week.
Yeah, it's I was like, holy cow, man. I was thinking about
he coaches, right?
Well, okay, so he was hired as an assistant for Fox Tech a while back.
But no, he's coaching. He's been at Clemens, head coach.
Oh, that's right. He is at Clemens now, and he's the head coach out there.
Yes.
Man, we're gonna have to reach out to Robert Bell, man, because there was another player that played. I think it was Lenny Brown that played with Robert Bell.
Yeah, Lenny Brown.
Yeah, that's like one of the golden ages of high school basketball around that time. Just so many great players in the city. And then what's kind of crazy is that 95 team, I wanted to ask Donte because it's like, man, that 95 team, as great as it was, it's considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest teams in Texas high school basketball with the run that they had.
They averaged 109, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They're considered, under the table, which I don't understand why, but they should be considered one of the greatest high school teams ever, period.
Well, here they talk about teams like Dallas Carter, Houston, Willow Ridge, schools like that. But East Central belongs right in that same, they're on that same level. Right. And they need to get a little more respect, actually a lot more respect than they've gotten.
And we're gonna make sure we put as much respect on him as we're gonna be joined by Donte Mathis here right now. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Let's get the spotlight segment going right now. All right, welcome to the show, Mr. Donte Mathis. Appreciate you joining myself and Derek Gervin, sir. I know you were busy at practice, and my bothersome was probably getting annoying, and I apologize for that. But all in all, I appreciate you joining us tonight, man.
Fellas, I appreciate y'all having me, man. How you guys doing?
We're doing really good, really, really good. And it's kind of funny. This backstory behind this was a few weekends ago, my wife's like, because we live in Seguin now. So my wife's like, hey, let's go to San Marcos. Let's stop into Cheddar's. And we walk in and the basketball team is having dinner at Cheddar's that night. And I walked by the table and my wife's like, why do you keep looking at that table? I said, I could have sworn it's Donte Mathis. I just remember, I'm trying to remember. He doesn't coach at Texas State anymore, does he? And I looked up sure enough, he does. I told Derek, I just saw Donte the other night, and I want to see if I should reach out to him. So I was like, definitely, I got to reach out to you. But more than anything, man, I appreciate you joining us here for Sweep the League. First and foremost, Donte, before we get into the high school talk, because I definitely want to talk about that 95 team right now with Texas State. Can you give us a preview for what you guys are looking at for Texas State this year, the Bobcats? We see the football teams on a whole new level now, basketball-wise. Can you give us a small preview for Texas State basketball?
Man, to be honest with you, I love our guys. We have, I think, what I would call, man, we call it like a sleeping giant in terms of Texas State. Just the quality of life, man, the opportunity the guys have to come in and play and develop. And the guys we have right now, man, they have the right energy. They have the right mind state. And, when you come to work and you never dread it, that just means you got some good dudes. And, man, we've got these type of guys, man, guys that want to buy their mama house, guys that don't mind getting in the gym. You don't have to beg them to do anything. And as much flack as some of the newer kids, the new generation gets, it's always great, man, to be able to have and work with kids that just appreciate the game, man, at its purest level. They don't mind working, don't mind getting their hands dirty, and that makes it fun to coach.
Yeah, we are talking to Texas State assistant coach Donte Mathis. I know I'm kind of giddy about it because, again, I went to high school in the 90s, and that's when you saw the runs, and I was talking to Derek, hey, you got that 95 East Central team, Bonowitz and Mathis. You also had players like we mentioned Robert Bell, Lenny Brown for Fox Tech, Devin Brown at West Campus. I want to see, Derek, you got something for Donte before I start going on my high school rant, man?
No, because I'm ready to go in high school. I want to talk about a team that was averaging 109 points and having 6'3".
Hey, man, well, Rudy, you didn't tell me, man. You didn't tell me I'd be on here with the legend, man. So,
you're the legend.
You just kind of blindsided me, man. You left that out.
Thank you, Don. Hey, Donte, I'm going to say this before we start. What you just said about your guys, and first I want to thank you, but what you just said about your guys, I went out to UTSA last week, and I met the new coach out there, Coach Clonch, but I met the guys, and you could tell, man, like what you said, you could tell when guys are sincere, when they're sincerely good people. And when you don't dread, like you said, coming into the gym, and you meet guys right away, and you could just feel it inside. Yeah. These guys are here for the right reason. They're good people, high character people, more so than basketball players. And when you said that, man, I kind of got emotional because to talk to those guys, it just makes everything worthwhile. And this is why we do it. And I think people forget sometimes when you look at the AAU ball and all of that, the EYBL and all that stuff. And they're trying to push these guys to the NBA when they're recruiting at 11, 12 years old. Tell me how, when these guys, what's the best part? Is it on the court, or is it when you're dealing with these guys off the floor, or is it a combination of both?
Man, it's a combination of both. I'll be honest with you, because on the court, you're basically, and I'll reflect on my own situation. Man, I was blessed to have some guys that coached me and some guys that they just gave me a chance. Guys that I was vulnerable with in terms of telling them, kind of what my dream was and what I wanted to do with the game. I was a little embarrassed, kind of sharing that. But guys that were like, okay, well, let's do it. And so now you fast forward to be able to kind of repay that debt, and kind of repay that tax daily. With these guys, man, it's a combination on the court, even off the court, getting to know them, because with the newer generation, times have changed in terms of how you can coach these kids. And so back in the days, you used to kind of coach with fear a little bit. You don't do this, you're going to get on that line. You don't do this, man, you ain't going to play. You don't do this, man, I'm going to do this. But nowadays, man, the best way to get a kid to run through the wall, for you is just to really connect with them, and to be genuine with them. And, the newer kids, man, now too, they're smart. They know if you're genuine, they know if you fabricate it. And that's just the biggest connection. And if you do the on court and you do the off the court stuff right, then what happens is years down the line, when you run into these kids again, young men, man, these dudes, we're trying to go to their weddings. We're trying to go to their kids' birthdays here in the future. If you do it right, that's what we get to.
Yeah, we are talking to.
Do you think it's, every coach has their own way. And you got some of the coaches, the Bobby Knight style and the cursing and all that. And I'm not going to say it's wrong. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But don't you think rationalizing with these young people is setting them up for what it's going to be like in the real world? Just trying to talk things through. And that's what we want them to do in turn when they're dealing with a principal in the school or whoever it may be, to know how to talk to people. And I don't think, I always tell the kids, if I have to curse at you, I'm the problem. Because I'd rather rationalize. What do you think about that? I'm not saying there any the other way is wrong. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, man, and this is the beautiful thing about sport, man, is because there's just so many life lessons in it. So, within the sport, man, you got to remember we're dealing with kids between the ages of 18 and 23. So a lot of times, man, how we get these kids, they're not in the best position to kind of give us the focus to sometimes even give you maybe the respect, that you're asking for initially because of some of the habits. And so, I believe in also rationalizing with a man, but, now, and everybody will say it, man, college is a business. And more importantly, man, it's their business. And so, man, I don't want a kid taking their business lightly, so sometimes, man, we have kind of a sliding scale. And, if I can be rational with you and, man, we can get things done, then, hey, man, let's do it that way. But sometimes you think about back when you were 17, 18 years old, man, hey, you need someone to kind of, hey, just get on you a little bit. So, but in that case, even in that way, man, these kids know that we want the best for them. So as long as it's not misunderstood or misinterpreted, man, we're good.
I'm saying you can curse at them, that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying that's not the norm. Because a lot of these guys come from backgrounds where already, that's all they're used to, and that's what they get. And so we're trying to kind of take them out of the norm and making them come out of our comfort zone. So I'm saying sometimes as coaches, athletic directors, whoever, we also have to do the same. And we have to be true to the game. We have to come out of our comfort zone. And 100%. We try to rationalize. Now, if it doesn't work, occasionally they're going to be what we call tough love. I just don't think, for me, that's not the norm. It does happen, but I'd rather be able to talk to a young man and rationalize, or a young lady, as opposed to grilling them all the time, because we don't know what they go through on a 24-hour daily basis when they're not around us.
Facts, man, facts. And, the beautiful thing about it, I think players and coaches, man, are on kind of the same road. And what I mean by that is that they're both on like a road to where they're going to evolve. And, man, you think about as a player, as a young player, man, being impulsive, being emotional, man, snapping at everything, taking every constructive criticism as, personal, you'll eventually evolve. But, I mean, it's the same thing with coaches, man. You can start off fiery, you can start off this, that, but as you get a little bit older and as you get settled, kind of in your profession, it's not that your accountability or your standard changes, but I just think that your demeanor kind of changes, man, as you deal with more kids and more personalities. And you just find more efficient ways to kind of get what you want out of them.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking to Donte Mathis, assistant coach for Texas State Bobcats, also state champion for East Central back in '95. We got some questions for you here. We allow a lot of the listeners grab a couple of questions in. We got Tim Gonzalez, and he's asking Coach Mathis, how are you adjusting to the NIL and transfer portal now within college basketball?
Well, I think it's, man, we have to evolve and we have to adjust. We could sit and criticize it or tell you what's wrong with it or what's right with it. But at the same time, man, there's other institutions, man, that are at our same level and even in our same conference that, man, they're just adjusting, man, and they're going. And so I have no problem with it. I think that it's a good thing, for the young men, as long as they're working, and doing things the right way. The only issue, that I have right now with NIL sometimes is that, man, it's getting kids, kids, they might leave you for a few $100 more per month. And so you think about a kid, man, that has an opportunity to be a pro. A kid's got the minutes, he's got the usage, he's got everything that's all aligned for him to do and play well. You know, sometimes, man, you know, a few more dollars can kind of cloud their judgment, and they'll take it and they'll get where they want to go. But then, man, you know, all those other things are in alignment for you to play well. So, man, I just think it's, you know, it's the current times. These young men have worked so hard, man. They're deserving. You know, they've also deserved the opportunity to make decisions on what they want to do with their life and their careers. But, you know, sometimes, man, it's, you know, the decisions, you only get so much time as a player, you know, collegiate player in general. And so, man, I just don't like seeing the kids squander their time with decisions that aren't fruitful.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, it's kind of weird for NIL because something just came up recently, and it has to do with UTSA football. You know, you start to see the fans say, well, you know, you're having an unsuccessful season. And this can go across the collegiate board, whether it be basketball or football. You're having an unsuccessful season. They don't take into the fact that, you know, during those successful times, players were here, players graduate, players go to, you know, a draft, or they just leave school. Sometimes they transfer, and then they all seem to point back at NIL. Well, it's because, you know, Texas has $1 million NIL deal for everybody, but UTSA only has $20,000 to spread around the whole thing. So fans start to blame the NIL, and it's got to be a lot more difficult than just that, because then, you know, it's like, well, do you put it on the coaches? Do you put it on the NIL deal? Like you mentioned, players for a couple $100 will go get 15 minutes of playing time, where if they stayed here, they can get 25 minutes of playing time and better their career here. But it's so tricky. So I guess, you know, what we're seeing is, does NIL really play much more of a factor, not just on a player selection, but on an overall season? Because it's like, man, if you're just struggling this year, well, we need more money. We need more money to go buy players, basically. And it just really can't work like that.
Yeah, it's tough, man. But I will tell you this, you know, sometimes you may have all the money in the world and the roster still doesn't shake out. You know, the chemistry still doesn't shake out. And so, man, I guess, you know, and I can't speak for levels that are higher or do anything else, but, you know, in our mind, man, we have to find guys that want the minutes that we have, the opportunity that we have. You know, we've got a regular season. We've got a conference that's respectable. And for some of these guys that'll come and tell you, well, man, I want to be a pro. Well, man, I got minutes and usage for you to be a pro. You know, and all you got to do is meet the opportunity. And so we have to be a little bit more selective, man, with choosing the guys that want to be, you know, where we are and kind of want what we can provide. And that's all that we can worry about, man. You know, at the end of the day, we're competing for, you know, our conference championship. We're competing for an opportunity to go to, you know, the NCAA tournament. And, you know, we're trying to do it with guys that buy into, you know, just how we want to do things and just the overall vision, man, of our head coach.
Rudy, I got a question on that. Sure. Donte, how do you convince the guys, right? Because you just said, we talk about guys talking about the NBA, right? There's only been 5,000 people that ever played in the NBA. Yes. So how do you convince guys when they talking about the money? Your odds aren't very high as far as making the NBA. How do we get them to focus back on education as well? Because that's what I still think, that college experience is something that you never get back. And if the man above works a mysterious way. If it's meant for you to get the money's going to be there. But if you just go in there putting all your eggs in one basket and then that doesn't work out, that's where we have a problem. So how do you convince the guys to always remember that education still matters?
Yeah, well, man, to be honest with you, when we recruit, you know, and this is a trickle down from our head coach, it's more than about basketball. So for us with recruiting, you know, we're going to be real with you guys about the day-to-day. You know, coach doesn't want these guys coming in and just playing basketball and leaving. You know, he wants these guys getting the experience. He wants them getting taking their academics seriously. He wants them also being updated on current events. And like I said, just like we work on their jump shot or just like we work on their bodies with strength and conditioning, man, we got to build these young men up. We've got to build them up. They're going to be fathers one day. They're going to be husbands one day, and so we're trying to basically work on these guys daily with putting this just in them. And so, I don't have a problem with adopting kind of that pro mentality in terms of your work ethic, and I agree with you, man. Like, it's very, very hard. You have to be lucky. There's a lot of things that go into you being able to kind of do that. But what happens also is that the guys that accept everything else that we're trying to put on their plate and they're doing all that to chase it, what happens is even if they don't get to the NBA, they may go overseas. Even if they don't go overseas, man, they have all these traits to where they can kill it in life. And they're so balanced and they're so level-headed to where, hey, man, guess what? They realize what that college experience gave to them. They realize the head start that they may have now because of NIL, because they were able to kind of be in this team environment daily. And then what happens is, man, when you're not able to play anymore, you basically find a new place to transfer your passion. So you look at some of these universities, man, and the biggest donors, the most cheerful givers, they're like former athletes that have went through that process. They're not necessarily all guys, man, that went to the NBA, and so if you're lucky, man, if you're blessed, you'll have a chance to do that. But what we're trying to do is, man, we're trying to make a well-rounded individual. And if that individual is good enough, hey, man, they'll get there,
Yeah.
Great answer. Mm-hmm.
That's a great answer there. Great answer, man. And, NIL is just NIL, and it's something that it's in place. People just got to get used to it. Coaches, staff's got to get used to it. It's still relatively new for a lot of people, even at this point. But I think eventually it'll just kind of work its way in. Everybody will get adjusted, and things will fall into place. Talking to Donte Mathis, Texas State assistant basketball coach. And let's get into the fun part where Derek is giddy. I'm kind of giddy because not a lot of love ever comes back for the 95 East Central team, 35-0. Like Derek said, averaged 109, I think, a game. Just outscored. I mean, just in the state finals and the championship, 107-94, I believe, over El Paso. Then I have 108-86 over Dallas Carter. I mean, the run that you guys had, can you talk about that run? It was, I know it was you and Bonowitz Jr. I think Lundy was another player on that team. Was it Charles Jackson was another one?
Yep, Curtis Lundy, Charles Jackson, Stacey Dudley, Jeremy Lear. Yep, all those guys.
Yeah, can you basically go over that year? I mean, it was just and people say, well, they got to be considered one of the best teams ever in Texas. And I'm like, hold up. No. You got to consider them one of the best teams in the nation of all time because of that run. There's a lot of teams that had a lot of NBA talent. And I'm like, these guys were hell of players, man. This is a run for the ages. Can you kind of go over that year of 95?
Man, listen, that was a special year. And what made it so special is, man, I got to do that with my best friends. We didn't recruit, we didn't have dudes that moved in mysteriously, this and that. Those were dudes that we all grew up, man, hey, a couple of minutes from each other. Coolest thing in the world was, man, is that, to be honest with you, we had, I guess it was, some guys that we kind of considered our mentors that were a little bit older than us. You talk about the Tony Terrells, you talk about Robert Kino, bless his soul.
Yeah,
you talk about other guys in the city. You talk about the Artie Griffiths. You talk about, Terrence Bullman Jackson. You talk about, all these guys, even Derek and all these other guys in the city that we used to hang on everything that they do. And all that trickle down, it just came into, and developed into our passion for the game. Man, Coach Bottoms, I think I was blessed and fortunate to play for probably one of the greatest all-time coaches, in high school, period. I'm not even going to say Texas. And so what he was able to do, the life lessons that he gave us, he was who he was. He didn't coddle us. And, man, we got basically just the right amount of everything from him, discipline, accountability, man, to be able to do that. And so, as a kid, watching all these older guys play at Alamo Stadium, watching these guys play at Northside Stadium, we go to these tournaments. Tournament of the Stars, I remember that was a big deal. And, man, we were always just waiting for an opportunity to do it. And, man, that year was special. We were able to do it together as friends. The majority of those guys, man, I am still very close with today. And that just shows how close our bond was, man. But I also think too, man, like our ability to be able to do that, it's one of the things that makes San Antonio special. And so, man, it's, San Antonio is kind of a blue collar sports town, man. And the kids that are there just love the game so much. They play with so much competitive fire. They got a chip on their shoulder because they're not Dallas, they're not Houston. And, man, it's just cool when you see, every few years, kind of the next crop that comes out. So like you said, you got the Fox Tech that comes around. Then you've got the Judson. Then you've got this. Then you've got that. And so it's just fun to see how that goes, man. But we most definitely were blessed to be able to do that, man, with people that we love and people that we're still close with to this day.
Rudy, I went out to East Central practice. I was in my 30s, and we talking about in the 90s. And I told Coach Bonowitz, I said, "You're a bad man." And I meant that from the bottom of my heart because I watched their practice. It's a tough practice. He's very demanding. But you can tell, like we talked about earlier, a guy that's there for your best interest. And everything is on point. It's kind of reminds me of Mike Krzyzewski with the Duke program. Once you go there, you're going to get what you put into it. And if you're not prepared mentally, that's not the program for you. And that's what I like the most about it. So I got to give love to that Lakeside area, that China Grove area. They come out to support the Hornets, man. And I meant what I said. You guys, Donte, to me, they talk about Dallas Carter. I told Rudy before you got on the air, you hear about the Houston Willow Ridges and schools like that, DeSoto. But East Central belongs right in that same on that same level. And you guys, man, I have to give you guys credit. And then to see what you're doing now, my man, the maturity, to see Tony and these guys, what they're doing, it's magnificent, man. It's a great feel.
Oh, man. Yeah, we were blessed. We were really, really blessed, man. But like I said, man, I think now, too, that's why, you look at nowadays and a lot of people, man, it's easy to criticize, like, the new generation. They don't do this. They don't do that. Oh, they ain't this. They ain't that. But, man, the dudes that we kind of considered, man, our big bros and our OGs, them dudes really poured into us. They wanted us to succeed. And man, we were able to kind of take just the example that they set, and man, that just helped us. And so, man, I just think that, that's essential, when you talk about these young men trying to chase a dream, because, when you're chasing a dream, you're a little bit vulnerable. You're vulnerable, man, because you just want to get there. You may not know, you're working the right way, but you still really don't know. And to be able to have people to kind of pour into you, man, it's something as easy as, hey, man, I see what you're doing, man. Hey, man, keep doing what you're doing, man. Hey, man, you're doing good. You're looking good, young fella. Little things like that, man, I vividly remember that, man, it was just like logs in a fire. And, man, it was just so needed, So we've always tried to give back in the same fashion, man, and encourage these young guys nowadays that, to chase their passion, just with the work ethic, with discipline, with everything else. I don't try to discourage them, man. I try to make sure they understand, hey, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But, man, it's okay to chase your dream, if you got everything else in line.
Rudy, let me
Yeah.
say something quickly because I was one of those guys. You know, they talk about the old school OGs or whatever, and a lot of times we hard on the guys that's playing in this era, and I'm talking about the NBA guys. I've kind of softened up because for me, man, it's amazing to see guys like Tobias Harris, guys that I know personally, Torian Prince, Keaton Wallace. Shout out to Keaton, just made the Atlanta Hawks roster. To see these guys continue to fight and to it is what it is. This is the era they play in, and we have to adjust to that. Just like the guys before us, they had to adjust when it was a new game. The Oscar Robertsons, I've interviewed him before. So our game was different to him. It would be different to a Wilt Chamberlain or Bill Russell. And we have to adapt. So looking at it today, I've continued. I've lightened up a lot, and I'm going to support these guys. Instead of being negative, I want to see these guys succeed because we kind of paved the way for them. And everybody doesn't think like, well, you remember Anthony Edwards made the comment about Michael Jordan, and he's the only one in the era with skills. And a lot of people got offended. But I take it as a guy, man. Anthony likes attention, but I have to support these guys. We've seen that even the great things LeBron has done, the KDs, the Steph Currys, and they're paving the way for these new guys, for the Lukas and the new breed that's coming in. So, yeah, man, I've lightened up, and I love what these guys are doing, and I'm going to continue to support them.
Man, that means the world, man. That means the world. I think, too, man, it's just I'm more impressed with how these young fellas are taking this thing and running with it more than I am trying to pick apart what they don't do or don't have or what's different than what we had. You know, I'm just proud everybody's kind of having a chance to be successful.
Yeah, you know, and I want to run down a couple of accomplishments outside of the 35-0, the state championship in '95, heading over to. And I was not arguing with Derek. I was like, it wasn't Texas State at the time. It was Southwest Texas.
Oh yeah, man. It's SWT, man. That's what it was. Southwest Texas. Oh yeah.
Southwest Texas.
Before you move to the next subject, I got a question that I want to put Donte on the spot.
Here we go.
From your days playing in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dang, just give me maybe 3 or 4, if 5. I don't want to put pressure. 4 or 5 of the best guys that you had the opportunity to play with or against.
Mm-hmm. High school level?
Yes.
Man, your nephew was one.
G.
G. Gervin, man, was unbelievable talent. Unbelievable talent. Super, super skilled. He was talented, man, to be honest with you, man. The guy that I shared the court with every night, I don't think too many guys can touch him, Stan Bonowitz. So Stan might have been the only guy in the history to ever play for his dad. And nobody talk about daddy ball. He was just that good, man. He was that good. There was no doubt. But there were other guys, man. Mark Reed, I remember. Eduardo Nahara, I think, came up during that time, and he was really, really, really tough. You had a couple of younger guys, Robert Bell, you know, that was really tough at that time. And then there was just other guys, man, you know, throughout the state. You know, you had your Omar Sneed, you had your Chris Clacks, you had your DeJuan Vasquez, those guys that went to Texas that were they were really good at that time, man. They were kind of ahead of the curve.
Did you hear that name, Rudy? Mark Reed?
I did.
He works with my brother's program, with Georgia and G's program, Strength in Motion at the Gervin.
He was a bad boy.
I was just with Mark Sunday.
Hey, man, let me tell you a story, man. We were playing them dudes. I think it was like in middle school. It was a middle school AAU tournament. And, man, we were that might have been 7th or 8th grade. I can't remember. And, man, we're playing, and Mark, G, all them dudes that they were playing with, man, we're down there doing layups. And, man, all I hear is the rim popping on the other end. And I turn around, man, the dude's dunking the ball with 2 hands, man. Mark, Ivan Wagner, Ricky Reed, all those guys. And I was just like, man, all them dudes was like 6'4" at the time. And, man, there were great memories competing against those guys going on.
Wow, Ivan Wagner, high jump, man. The man was great.
He's another one. Yeah, he's another one. He's another one.
One of the best that we've ever had in track and field in the entire city of San Antonio. Man.
100%. And even better guy at that. You know what I'm saying? Even a better person.
Yeah, that's the good thing about, I told Derek that's one of the golden times of high school basketball around that 95, 90 era there was just so many guys coming up in basketball for San Antonio in that time. With going to Southwest Texas, so freshman of the year for the 95-96 season. First round, I believe, in the NCAA tournament in 97. You've been Southland Player of the Year, two-time first team All Southland. The accomplishments, they speak for themselves of the type of player that you were. You played for the Billings Rim Rockers, Orlandina Basket, a couple places just to name. But there was one thing that caught my eye that I was like, I know a good amount about Donte, but after 2013, the playing career, you did something with a guy that's okay at basketball. He's decent at basketball from what I heard. Some guy named Hakeem Olajuwon. You had a little partnership with Hakeem at the time, basically developing basketball internationally. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it was to work with Dream?
Man, it was a blessing. It was a real blessing to be able to work with Dream. At the time that I retired, man, I took a couple of years off, and I wanted to kind of just see what was going to be my next step, what I want to do next. Kind of let my family, man, settle. I drug them all over the place, all around the world. But I met Dream. I was living in Houston, and Dream was trying to live abroad. He's got sons that are really, really, really good at basketball. And what he wanted to do is his sons grew up in England, in the UK. And so he wanted to basically develop this basketball academy that we I met him through a mutual friend, and he was asking, well, how can we do this? Well, we can do it like this. And, man, we met and talked and just collaborated on basically implementing that program that's still active today. But, man, it was just a blessing being able to work with him. He is probably one of the most humble guys, man, I've ever met. And a lot of the stuff that he would do, or the reason or his why and why he would do it, man, it was always for the betterment of something else, or someone else, or to make it bigger, or to contribute to it. And so, man, I just had the pleasure of being able to kind of do that with him. I think to this day, it's still probably one of the larger camps and programs that exist abroad over in the UK.
And I got to say the names quickly, Rudy, so you know the son's name, Taju, who went to UTSA, and Afis.
Afis, yep.
Yeah, Taju and Afis. So two really good young men. And I remember when Taju came down here, Donte, of course, the people were on campus were checking him out because, he had the Mercedes and all that in college. But very good people. And so I hope people realize I played in a tournament. My first college tournament was in the Houston Kettle Classic.
Okay.
When I was a freshman, and it was us. It was the University of Lamar. It was University of Arizona, and of course the Phi Slamma Jamma. And as you know, at that time, Hakeem had a little temper, and he would fight at the drop of a hat. But to see his maturity level, man, and then imprint that on his sons, man, you're talking about a high character, very high character man. And I'm glad you brought up the Dream. I think he's top 4 center for me all time. And just a great.
He's a high level dude, man. High level dude.
Yeah, he really is. And I also brought it up, Derek, about Dream because I'm trying to get San Antonio fans to get over what he did to David Robinson that one playoff series. So I'm trying to make him, look as nice as possible because Dream is a really nice guy. Yeah, the Spurs fans don't get over anything, man. You know that for a fact.
Dave's gotten over it, but the
fans. Dave's forgot it the same night he forgot about it. He came back the next night. But nonetheless, we're talking to Donte Mathis, Texas State assistant coach, state champion with the East Central. And, we got questions that aren't appearing on the stream, but they DM us all the time, says, hey, you got to ask this. The most popular question we always look at, we see, what's the common question? And they say, hey, well, Donte's a coach now. Let's ask him a coaching question, but nothing to do with college. Let's ask him, what would Donte Mathis do to fix the San Antonio Spurs?
To fix them? Are they broke?
Apparently Spurs fans think that, they should be title contenders every year. And I don't see it. But if Donte Mathis can look at the Spurs roster and say, this is what we need to do, this is what they need to do, they want to know what would Donte do with the Spurs?
Man, what we only can do is just wait. I mean, they've got probably the next generational talent, like star face of the NBA, but you got to wait on that to develop. It's still cooking. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like those teams were so good for so long. I can see how easy it is to get spoiled, but with every situation, you can't play till you're 50. So there's always a reset, with something, man, that's just that good. And, right now you got to build it, and I like the way they do things. They do things organically. They're not going to do it the gimmicky way. They're not going to do it superficial. They're going to kind of grow their own food, cook their own food. And right now, man, we're just waiting for that deal to mature and get back to where it'll be soon enough, I think.
They're on the right track. Rudy, they brought in, you got Wemby, and then you bring in Stephon Castle.
Yeah.
Castle, as you know, right, a guy that won championship at Connecticut. So they move in the right way. People just, like Donte said, they have to be patient. You got to remember you're dealing with a 38-year-old Chris Paul, but he's still very important to that roster. A lot of people just look at stats. He brings so much more to the team than stats. He's teaching these guys how to play the game the right way. And when you look at him on the sideline, like if another guy on the team shooting free throws, you see him over there, him and Pop are talking all the time. Mm-hmm. And Pop, chewed him out the other day. And Chris said he loved it, having a coach that's bought in like that. But people have to be realize we're on the right page. We got Sohan playing well, averaging 19 and 9 right now. I know it's early. Brandon played really lights out last night. Champagne's playing well. They're going to continue to get better. They're already, to me, better than the team that the product they had on the field on the court last season.
Yeah,
one day at a time.
We get that, and that's one thing we try to preach to them. Just be patient. I mean, you're going to have struggles from time to time. It's not always going to be title contenders. You're not always going to have Tim Duncan and Manu and David Robinson, and it's just never going to be like that all the time. So patience is the key. And, I know we're coming towards the end of the show here, so I got to let Donte know one more thing on a personal level. Was, I went to Central Catholic from 93 to 97, if my math is correct. It's somewhere in between there. So I was under the Coach Cortez, era of basketball, towards the end of his era of basketball, because he retired, I think, in 94 or 5, I believe. So, me coaching, a lot of it had to do with Coach Cortez and learning under him. Now, with you, how much? Was it 100%? But how much did Coach Bonowitz influence you to say, okay, when my playing career is done, this is what I want to do?
Well, I think he's definitely a part of it. But what happens is, man, on your path, on your road, you encounter so many different coaches, so many different personalities. And at the beginning of it, you're kind of chasing something. And then as you keep going, you get a little bit closer to it. And then, boom, you get a chance to do it. And then you finish it, right? And so then reflecting on even how you got there, you come across all these guys that made like this incredible investment in you. And it starts with Bonowitz, and it ended with, hey, John Marco Pacheco, over in Italy. But, man, you look at the contribution of all those guys to be able to allow me to do kind of what I've always dreamed. And you realize, man, how blessed you are. And so, man, when it came time to kind of get into coaching, man, it was solely that, I got to repay this. I got to give this back to someone else. And so, man, Coach TJ Johnson, who is head coach at Texas State University, he called me several years back, and he gave me this opportunity to work at a place that I was able to kind of carve out and have people pour into me to allow me to kind of do what I wanted to do with the game of basketball. And man, I'm truly grateful that he gave me the opportunity to basically just repay that. So every day, man, I'm trying to repay and pour into these guys to get them closer, to whatever it is, man, that they want to do in life, to give them a chance, while they're maturing, while they're growing, while they're balancing whatever they're balancing. But the whole, purpose for coaching really is just to give back. It's to give back. If I see these dudes 10 years from now somewhere, if I see them in the store, man, these dudes should come up to me and give me a hug. And then, will I ever be able to repay it all back? Probably not. But I had some amazing men in my life, man, that poured into me. They were solid. They were genuine. And, man, I take those same attributes and I kind of use that, man, as a gauge of what's needed for these kids that I work with currently.
Yeah, that's, with me was Coach Cortez. I never played because my grades were terrible, so I got basically kicked off the team.
Man, you in a private school, man.
Well, I think I took being in private school a little too lightly and didn't really put in the work. I said, I'll put in the work on the court, but I didn't put it in the classroom. So that was my mistake back then. But I did learn a lot, especially from him and the other coaching staff, Coach Ibarra as well. Just a lot of different coaches there. But like I said, coming to the end, I don't know if Derek's got anything more, but I got a little bit more, but I want Derek to go first.
I just want to mention a couple names on how proud I am of Donte. You guys, Cliff Ellis. Man, Tony Terrell. You mentioned Mark. You mentioned Terry Boo, man, who a lot of people might not know. Terry, to me, has the top program right now in the city. If you're talking about AAU, hard work. And so to see him and Anissa, as you know, Anissa Hastings Jackson now, to see them running that program and see that program continue to do so well, man, I'm proud of all you guys. And I want to thank you for coming on the show.
I appreciate you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Donte, the herky jerky. Donte, people that don't know, Donte had the herky jerky game. And so
hey, man, let me tell you something now, man. Hey, with these hips I got now, man, I can only walk in a straight line, man.
Man, just thinking about 95, and it was funny. I had a conversation with an old buddy of mine, and he's like, as great of a team as that 95 East Central team was, just look at the overall national basketball picture. And I thought, man, he's right. I mean, you're talking, the class was, I think Kevin Garnett, Marbury was there in that class. I mean, Sharif Abdur-Rahim, I think Kobe was a junior. Like that entire high school basketball class nationwide was just monumental. And that's why I tell them that 95 team was pretty special because a lot of these other teams had, you had Kobe, you had Kevin Garnett, you had these guys. And I think this team would definitely give a lot of them a run, if not all of them, to be honest with you. I mean, you guys were just that great of a team. And I appreciate you guys for doing what you did because I went to a lot of y'all's games. And, being from Central Catholic, I'm like, we're okay this year. Let me go check out the other Central team, the East Central team. And again, appreciate for you guys putting on, a tremendous showing night in and night out. Something that I don't think San Antonio will see for a very long time, man. Really, so I appreciate it.
They paved the way for the NBA, to be honest, because if you look at the NBA today, it's a positionless game.
Yep.
These guys had nobody taller than 6'3", I believe. Yeah. And so, so if you look at it today, it kind of reminds me, you can go small ball, and that's what they play in the NBA. You can put Draymond at the center, Julius Randle or somebody. And that all started from East Central, so I'm giving it up to you guys.
Man, Derek, don't give us that credit, man. I think that came from Europe, man. But hey, I'll take credit for it on this show, man.
In Europe, they had 7-footers though. They didn't have 6'3" players. A center 6'3". That's why I'm giving it to you guys. Y'all was special.
The centers over there, though, man, they can dribble, pass.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
Forwards dribble, pass, shoot. So. Man, like I said, I think we played for a guy that he was years ahead of the game in how he saw it, man, and how he taught it. And man, we were just, I'm glad we didn't mess it up, man, and we just were able to sit back and listen and just soak it up.
Stanley, Don Nelson, Bonowitz. Yeah. Same type of game. Let guys be themselves. And thank you again, Donte. I love you, my man.
I appreciate you, my man.
Continue success.
Hey, man, I got to get you guys out to a game this year, man. So let me know, Rudy. Let me know when you guys are available, man. We'd love to bring you guys up and host both of you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely keep in contact with you. We'll definitely head up to a Texas State game. And like Derek said, appreciate you. We got to majority of it. We didn't get to all of it. We wanted to talk a little bit of international. So hope we can get you back on the show sometime soon. I know the season's coming up, so we're going to let you focus on the season. But whenever we get a little break there, we'd love to have you back on. But yeah, we'd love to hit up a Texas State game for sure. And blessings and humblings, man, to have you on the show with us. And we look forward to talking to you again one day, man.
Sounds good. Fellas, I appreciate y'all. Thanks for the opportunity.
Good luck, Donte. Have a good night, my man.
Take care,
Donte Mathis, Texas State assistant basketball coach, and again, state champion for the 95 East Central team. Thank you guys for joining us here on Sweep the League. We've hit an hour. Everybody's mad, Derek. We didn't talk football. But you know what? There's always tomorrow.
Hopefully there's tomorrow. So
yeah, there's always tomorrow. We had to dedicate this to Donte. So again, appreciate Donte Mathis joining us tonight. For Derek Gervin, Hall of Famer Derek Gervin, and Hall of Honors, Texas State, Donte Mathis. I'm still working on my ring, Derek. I'm trying to get a Hall of Fame somewhere. I might go buy my way.
You're already Hall of Fame, man. I told you that already.
Pretty accomplished you, Derek Gervin, Donte Mathis. Appreciate everybody joining us. We'll see you later, guys.
Everybody have a good night. Stay safe.